companies would stay in America?
Well, thank you for bringing that up, because business taxes in America are 35%. They're the second highest in the world. Only the Japanese pay higher business taxes than we do. You know what the tax is in Ireland? That's had a booming economy, as you know, at least up until recently, 11%. So you own a business and you have the ability to go overseas or stay in the United States of America. What are you going to do? Obviously, that has taken businesses and jobs and jobs and jobs out of the United States of America. So I would reduce that tax immediately to 25% and even bring it lower as soon as we could, because it does mean that jobs leave this country. And again, I believe that the American worker is the most productive, the most innovative, and the best in the world. But if you own a business and you want to make a profit, because that's why we're in the capitalist business of capitalism, then, and you see a place where you can go, then I understand why you might. So we have to lower that tax in order to keep a more level playing field. And the business people I've talked to, they want to stay in the United States of America. They would rather stay here for a whole variety of reasons, not the least of which is patriotism, but also because of the productivity of the worker. But when they see these kinds of incentives, then obviously they have a tendency to leave. So I would reduce this business tax, and I would do it immediately. And by the way, that's another difference between myself and Senator Obama. Yes, sir.
Nice to meet you, sir. I'm Zach Quintero. On behalf of Boys Nation, in which I just returned from, great program. I'm glad that the government sponsors that so much. I'm very thankful that we have systems like this that can promote youth understanding in our government. My question for you is, what are your plans for Social Security, since we're going to be swamped by the baby boomers very soon?
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to give you a little straight talk, and I'm sorry to have to do it, but you probably know it, otherwise you wouldn't ask the question. In its present fiscal status, Social Security will not be there in its present form as it is for retirees today. Is that right? Is that the right thing to do to this young man? People are paying into a system that they're not going to get the same benefits from as present-day retirees. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. And I want to tell you, as president, I'll call in the Democrats, or I'll go see them. I don't care. And Republicans, and we'll sit around the table and we'll say we'll fix Social Security. My friends, in 1983, a long time ago, Social Security was going broke. It was going broke. I mean, that's just a fact. And armed with a study by Alan Greenspan, President Reagan and Tip O'Neill, who was a liberal Democrat from Massachusetts, sat down together. They walked out together into the Rose Garden and said, we're going to fix Social Security. And they did for about 20 or 25 years. So what do we do now? Nothing. Nothing. We get into a big fight about private savings accounts and other aspects of the issue, when really what we should be doing is sitting down across the table and recognizing that our obligation is to you. Our obligation is to you. Now, I'll give them all the credit. If they want all the credit when we fix it, fine, I'll give it to them. But the point is that Americans want us to work these things out. And once we work one of them out and get approval, by the way, did you notice lately the approval rating of Congress is at 9%? 9%. Now, anybody in that 9%, please raise your hands. But, you know, you get down that low, you get down to paid staffers and blood relatives. You don't get much lower than that. So I think that working together, Congress can regain some of that approval by working together for our country for a change. But your point is exactly accurate. Right behind you is a young woman there. Maybe I could hear from her.
Thank you for coming. What specifically are you going to do for the communities that don't have anything?
Sorry.
Oh. What specifically are you going to do for the communities that don't have anything?
Let me just thank you for the question. I'm sorry that the acoustics are a little poor, but thank you. I think one of the most important things I can do for these communities that you're talking about is to make sure that they have an educational opportunity that in wealthier communities that they have. Now, as you know, everyone has now the right, after a struggle, to attend school. But you know, what kind of a benefit is that if their only choice is a failed school? And it's a fact. It's a fact that at lower economic areas have worse school systems than higher income areas. It's just a fact. So what I want to do is make sure that every child in America and every parent in America has the same choice that I and my wife Cindy did, and Senator Obama and Mrs. Obama had. And that is to send your child to the school of your choice. Now that means charter schools, it means public schools, it means homeschooling, it means vouchers, it means to give them a choice. Those communities that you're talking about, unless we provide a training and education program for them, will never become economically better. And so, look, just 2 quick points. One, New Orleans. I think many of you may know that New Orleans was, as we all know, was wiped out, and so they started from square one. And guess what? There's over 30 charter schools in New Orleans today, and guess what? Their education is improving dramatically. New York City, they took over the school system, and they've been closing failing schools, and they've been rewarding good teachers for good performance and good principals and good schools. And guess what? The test scores are going up. So it's all got to do, in my view, with providing parents and children with a choice. And that competition then increases education, and that's what I'd like to do. Yes, sir.
As a third generation New Mexican, I appreciate you coming. My family has been here for a long time, and we have a lot of problems across the border. We've had over 300 women over the last 10 years killed, and across the border, we have towns right across the border at Ascension where the police department has abandoned their position. We've had over 800 people killed since Christmas. We had a pastor shot down, gunned down in his rehab to defend the children that were under his care. We need a surge on the border.
I thank you. As you know, twice I tried to get, in a bipartisan fashion, immigration reform passed by the Congress of the United States. And we failed twice. And we failed because the American people, and it is a federal responsibility, not a local responsibility, not the sheriff's responsibility, not the legislature's, state legislature's responsibility. It's a federal responsibility. We failed because the American people didn't believe us when we said we would secure the borders. So it's clear that we have to get our borders secured, have a temporary worker program that's truly temporary, and address the issue of the 10 to 12 million people who are already in this country illegally. Now, I'd be glad to go through all the details with you, but I would also like to point out, and I know that you included this in your remarks, my friends on the other side of the border, and everybody in this room knows the border, you know the problems, you know the challenges, I don't have to tell you, that we now have corrupt police, and we have a struggle between the Mexican government and these drug